Massive save by the Manchester City goalkeeper.
Right
That's
there. The moment Pep Guardiola has been dreaming of for the last 12 years. His third UEFA Champions League title as a manager. And his first without Barcelona and Lionel Messi. He's tried all he could and failed with the greatest players, but all he needed was this guy. Now, Pep Guardiola has managed some of the world's greatest players, but he couldn't win the Champions League with any of them. He even spent a ton on transfers in the last 12 years. The man has spent a little over €2 billion on transfers in less than 20 years as a manager, from Barcelona to Bayern Munich to Manchester City. But all that spending hasn't been a waste. He's assembled incredible teams and has won 35 trophies in his career. He's the fifth most successful manager of all time in football history. In the last 12 years since he left Barcelona, he's won 21 titles. None of those 21 titles were a Champions League title. Yes, he's won the competition twice, but to be honest, without this win, his legacy in the competition was hanging by a thread. When Pep Guardiola left Barcelona, he only had one thing in mind: to prove to the rest of the world that he could do it without Lionel Messi. And that he did. Guardiola dominated Germany. He did not let go of the league title when he was at the Allianz Arena. But the Champions League was a different ballgame for the man. Guardiola joined Bayern Munich in 2013, 1 year after leaving Barcelona. His signing was met with incredible excitement because there was no coach quite like him at the time. He played amazing football and made his players into superstars with his method of coaching and management. None of what he did at Bayern Munich was easy. The team was already sat atop the mountain in Germany, with players who had egos the size of Mount Everest. But he made them even better. Somehow, this didn't translate into the Champions League. A 5-0 aggregate defeat to Real Madrid in the 2013-14 Champions League semi-final was seen as a minor setback because his team was running through the domestic league and cup like a freight train without brakes. At the time of the loss, he had already wrapped up the Bundesliga by match day 27, a record that still stands to date. The next season, Wolfsburg handed him his first loss in the Bundesliga on match day 18. That was where he marked Kevin De Bruyne as a player he had to sign. In the Champions League, it was Barcelona who would hand the man a big L. Messi scored that famous goal after humiliating Jerome Boateng in a 5-3 aggregate win. Another semi-final loss. The same thing happened in his last season. Total dominance in the league, but another semi-final loss in the Champions League. After this, the man was fed up. He needed a break. But that break did not last because Manchester City came to him with an offer he couldn't refuse. Barcelona fans may not like to hear this, but Pep Guardiola and Manchester City are a match made in heaven. He's won everything with them. Premier League titles, FA Cup titles, League Cup titles. But he's never won the UEFA Champions League, and it keeps him up at night. Pep has made it publicly known that he would trade one of his Premier League titles for a UEFA Champions League title. And when Erling Haaland joined his team, everyone surely thought,
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
Haaland loves the Champions League. He wakes up to the anthem every day. But before Haaland, Guardiola could not make any headway in the UEFA Champions League. City is his longest gig. He spent 7 years at the club, and many believe he could make it to 10. And every year he's played in the Champions League. The problem? He's been piss poor with City. You see, Guardiola spent more than €2 billion on transfers. More than €1 billion of that amount has been spent at City. He's won everything, but still couldn't win the Champions League. In the 7 years he's been there, he's only made the semi-finals 3 times. At Barcelona, he made the semi-finals in all 4 of the seasons he was there. At Bayern, he made the semi-finals in all 3 of the seasons he was there. If he stayed 1 more year, he probably would have made a final. But at City, it took him 4 years to reach the semi-final. He narrowly lost the 2020-21 final and finally had a second shot in the 2022-23 final. And that feat was all thanks to one man. That man is Erling Haaland. All he needed was one incredible goal-scoring machine to complete what he'd been building at City for 7 years. He is the man that Guardiola's been searching for since he left Barcelona and Lionel Messi. You see, Haaland was already like nothing anyone had ever seen in the Champions League. When Kylian Mbappe came around, everyone thought, that's a monster. He could break Ronaldo and Messi's records. But when Haaland came, everyone started thinking, oh, he's definitely going to break Ronaldo and Messi's records. He scored 10 goals in his first season in the competition, 10 in his next, and 3 in his final one before moving to City. That was a whopping 23 goals in his first 19 Champions League games. But when he moved to Manchester City, he upped the ante. In the 10 games leading to the final against Inter, Haaland scored 12 goals. 5 of those 12 came in the most important Champions League game of them all, Manchester City versus RB Leipzig.
And Haaland tucks it away, and the Blues against the bar. Haaland! 2 goals in, 2 minutes? 3-0! The line, Akanji can't get there. Haaland again! 4 for Haaland, 5 for City. Oh, it's saved, and Haaland's there again! And he becomes City's record scorer.
Without Haaland's goals against the German team, City would not have made it to the final. That match gave them all the energy to fight and defeat Bayern Munich and Real Madrid to set up a match with Inter Milan in the final. Those were Haaland's most important goals this season. Those were the most important goals Guardiola had witnessed as Manchester City's manager. And now, both of them are going to change the landscape of football forever. Click this video to see how Messi makes football look too easy.